out there. Looking for
all
his
authentic
original
mathematics from the era, but this was an important scene to me when we shot it, although we ultimately had to cut it. The real John Nash was known to have wandered the halls of Princeton, sometimes resting his shoulder on the wall and wandering for hours. And this is when he was a student, not later when he was delusional. He was also known to ride his bicycle in circles and figure eights, often whistling, which is something that we didn't work in very well. Russell was not a great whistler. But this sequence was one that I was very pleased with. I thought it offered a lot of insight into young Nash and his process. However, it didn't survive the final cut. John Nash invented a game when he was at Princeton. He wasn't achieving much academically, but he invented this inspired game that was mathematically perfect. And it caught on with the other students. We wanted to develop that idea in the movie. It ultimately didn't survive the final cut. There was Russell, by the way, pausing before he walked toward the board. Later on in the movie, he performs a similar kind of a hesitation. Now, we dealt with this in fairly theatrical, dramatic terms, but we wanted to use it as an example of Nash's genius and his dogged determination to try to find to make a breakthrough. Here he'd been challenged by these students. He felt like the game of Go was mathematically imperfect, and here he's looking at the board and beginning to devise a different game that was in fact mathematically perfect. All inspired by the real Nash, if embellished a little bit by Kiva Goldsman and myself. It was an interesting sequence, and I was very sorry to have to let it go. Dramatically, it created a little bit of a problem because I wanted the first portion of the movie to generate as much tension as possible, and giving Nash this triumph, which sort of proved to audiences the power of his genius, seemed to remove the pressure on the back section of this particular Princeton sequence. The climax of that sequence, when he ultimately makes the breakthrough bar